Hey, good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And it's Thursday night, and I'm Von Harper. Nah, it's Thursday night. It's Thursday night, and as usual, we do Crown Rule 2, How Black Men Love, with
Yeah.
our lovely author, Julia Dozier.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Quentin. How are you tonight?
I'm in a good mood. I'm in
Good.
good spirits. As you know, I was making you laugh behind the scenes.
Yes.
Um, but anyway, to definitely proceed, and I just want to say that you know, this book is really a revelation. This is you struck a you know how they say during the gold rush. I hit gold. You hit gold. You hit gold.
Thank
So this
you.
so this week's episode, and we're on our fourth episode. Our fourth episode is our third question,
Yeah.
and our third question into the book is, how do you show love?
Yes. Yes. You know, Quentin, I usually read the gentleman's responses before each of our episodes, and the answers to this question really touched my heart again. I don't know what changed since the last time I read it, but it really touched my heart again. So I'm excited for this episode and to hear what our audience in the chat has to say.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, like I said, the chat is very important for you guys watching because we want you guys to be involved in our discussion. Whether you have a statement or a question, it's very important because you're part of the show. You're part of, as we would say, the crown rules too. How black men love family, and
Yeah.
as you can see, Julia has the shirt on. Um, the thing is kind of blocking, but it's crown rules. She ain't gonna stand up because she done got comfortable. But you know,
Yeah. This
someone saying someone saying hello to us. Great, glad you could join us, Miss Frank. Miss Frank, I'm glad you could join us. But let's go into how do you show love. I noticed that let's go right off the bat. Our first brother, he said time because time can never be given back.
right.
I thought that was interesting because when we're conversating with women, when they get upset or it's the after effect, at first be like, oh, I can't believe I wasted my time with him.
Right.
Or I wasted my time on that. Had I known it took me a year, it took me 2 years to find out that he wasn't worth it. So I thought it was interesting from a male's perspective that he was so concerned about his time. He felt as though the way that he showed love was spending time, not and he coincided with another brother with not with the big things, with just the little things and spending time and going out his way. I thought that was very interesting.
I think so too, and I think it's something that we as women and also men can be sensitive to, right? When we're in relationships, the time that we spend together with our partner is what allows us to bond and what allows us to create wonderful memories and what allows us to become closer with one another. And so that time that's spent is really important. I think that when it comes, and in addition to that, I think all of us have so many different aspects of our lives that we have to give attention to. So if you're carving out time and dedicating it to the person that you're interested in, that is important and that should be seen as valuable.
Yeah,
I think when we start talking about, oh, our wasted time is when we don't get the end result that we hoped for.
mm, yeah,
Everybody has a goal or conditions, like one of the other gentlemen in the book talked about. People have conditions when they get into relationship, and if the conditions are not met, then you can feel like you wasted your time. So if you just enjoy that person for being with them, you won't feel like it was a waste.
yeah. And then it's interesting that I'm gonna show you one of the statements in the chat.
Okay.
She said, "I would also say it's affection and being affectionate without being sexual." And that's something that me and you had talked about behind the scenes. Is that what one of the brothers had said that in his he's a man of a certain age now, and
Yeah.
in his younger years he
Yes.
and as he's gotten older as an older gentleman, it's more of affection, uh, shows of showings of a love that way. That's the way he
Yeah.
would describe love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the physical touch or the intimacy or even affection doesn't always have to be physical in nature. Um, it could be saying something sweet to someone at a moment that they least expected. There's different ways for us to be loving and intimate towards our partners without having to be engaged in intercourse.
Yeah, it's like what, and I'm just skipping around because I got some notes, but it's like what another brother has said about emotions, support, not being forced, let it be real organic, like not so much, oh, we gotta hold hands because we walking down the street. No, I want to hold your hand. It's natural. My hand just reach over and just cling over to your hand, and you know that type of thing. I think that the main thing that I got from a couple of them was like, they don't want to be told by their mate how to show me love. Let me do it naturally.
Let me do it. Let me do it naturally. Let me do it my way. Let it be organic. A lot of them also talked about how important it is for women to be attentive to when men are showing love. I think
Mm.
sometimes as women, we have an expectation that men will love us in a particular way, and that if we're not being loved in that particular way, then that means that they're not loving us. But I think it's important, just like in the book, to kind of understand how our partners show love so that when they're loving us, we can identify it and see it. I think who you're talking about is might be Eric, and what Eric was saying was that when he makes the bed, or when he cooks, or when he calls just out of the blue just to see how his partner is doing, those are the ways that he shows love. For a woman who is not attentive to that, she may not think that he's doing enough, or showing her love in that way. The other thing is that as much as these gentlemen talked about how they show love, I think in loving relationships, we also need to be open to understanding how our partner might need to experience that love too.
Yeah, the non-judgmental, unconditional. I find that to be interesting, and it made when I read that part, it made me reflect on what last week's, and I don't, for anybody that didn't see last week's episode, it's on YouTube. Last week's episode, when the guy said love is strengths, weaknesses, and failures.
Yes.
And I think that when you say how do you show love, showing love unconditionally is kind of, I always, in my younger years, I always said that was hard. I always believed that people do love conditionally or show love with conditions, because if somebody's not meeting your expectations, if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing for themselves, how could you show them love when everything they're doing is not in accordance or not in tune with what you got going on? And I think it's very rare. I was taken aback when he wrote unconditionally, because it was very interesting that he said that. So he must be a very and there's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say. He must have a real tender heart, because everybody don't have a real tender heart. Some of our hearts are hard and whatever. So I thought that was very interesting that he said that.
I agree. I agree. We need to be aware that we can create an environment for our partner to be motivated to love us. And usually the first step in that is how good we're loving ourselves, and how well we're taking care of ourselves. But then also how we're interacting with interacting with our partner, and being attentive to, what they need as well. And I think one of the gentleman in the book talked about the different ways that happens. It's verbally, it's nonverbal, it's your body language, it's so many different ways. And so we have to be aware that we can create that space where people can be motivated to love us.
And before, like I always tell you, I'm always gonna throw a wrench in the game, right?
Oh, right. here,
So yeah, the wrench. Here come the proverbial
here it
wrench.
comes.
One of one of the brothers said that he shows love because he's a hugger. He's a big hugger. That's I thought that was interesting because he's probably a protector type of person.
Hmm.
Um, and I was thinking if his significant other sees that in the book, and then what if he hugs a friend? He could just want to hug everybody, and then that could cause complications because men and women we want to be exclusive to the mate that we have. We don't want our mate to be treated or feel less than I'm hugging you the same way I'm hugging every other female. You'll be looking at me like, yo, what is you doing?
Are you in love with everybody?
Yeah. And then with that, because he's a hugger, that hug to his mate might not be as significant as it would be with her if she didn't know that my husband just a bubbly guy. He just loves to hug everybody. So
Right.
when she and then y'all get caught up in the perfume and hugging me. You don't hug that girl. She got bad energy.
Don't come
What?
near me.
Don't come there. I can feel that energy. Yo. Look, you give him a hug, and he be like, "Who you hug today? You don't hug somebody with some real bad energy." So I
That
thought,
glitter
I
on
thought,
you.
I thought. Yeah. So I thought that answer was interesting because hugging is a sign of emotion, affection, however you look at it. But I know that the way he might have said it to you in the interview, it could have been taken out of context, definitely by his significant other.
And that's absolutely true, Quentin. And I think the way that, when you look at the answers to this question from the gentleman in the book, what you'll find in certain what I found when I read it again is that in some cases the gentleman started from a very large perspective. So how do they show love to people in general? How do they show love to people in general? And then they narrow down to how they show love to their significant other. But I think you raise a very valid point, right? And something that we were talking about when we were ending last week, that when someone tells you how they show love, if you ask someone how do they show love and they tell you that, immediately you're going to start to see if they're exhibiting that behavior to you, and if they're exhibiting that behavior to other people. And then the question is, if you're hugging me and you're hugging everyone else, how do I know that the hug you're giving me is representative of your love? And it's then when we start to get into the other aspects of the relationship. Do I feel safe with you? Are we intimate in other ways? Yes, hugging is one way that you show love, maybe to everybody, and you might give that to me too. But what else
Because
do you do for me?
the reason what like I said when I read that part, Jules, it took me it like I told you, your book is so it's a template. It's a guide. And every time I don't read the book straight through. I
Right.
read the book per week per question. And when I looked at it, I said to myself, I said, I believe that I'm a man of a certain age, and I believe that women should feel a certain way, that we should always feel special. Like
Always.
like if you meet somebody, no matter what aspect of the dating, the courtship, the dinner, like you could meet a guy, he could chef, but he should be able to cook you a meal where you feel special, even though you may know he cooked meals for his exes or past relationships. but you should feel special, and that's vice versa. And I just thought that the hugging thing was just like so. Uh, that could be kind of tricky.
It can be kind of tricky, but in addition to that, he also said, so that was one way, and I think that's his universal way of showing love in
Hmm.
general. But he also said that he is sincere, he is natural, like you were talking about before. Like, I don't have to say, let's hold hands as we're walking down the street. We
Hmm.
want to connect to each other. I want to hold on to you. He talked about cheering someone up and making them happy if he saw that they were down, listening and being attentive, supporting them financially if they needed to. And he also actually is a chef. So he did talk about that, almost like if he's not feeling that vibe of love, he does not cook. When he
Yes,
cooks,
yeah, yeah.
sorry, go
I
ahead.
could relate. I got some culinary experience, and it's a feeling. Everything got to be right for you
Hmm.
to want to cook. It's not just because he's cooking with love.
With love.
Yeah, so he's cooking with
So
love. So
So whoever his partner is, she might be experiencing that hug as a sign of the physical touch, but she should also be experiencing those other things and more that he mentioned.
so I know that a lot of times people consider themselves, and one of the brothers has said that he believes he shows love by his actions, the small actions, not buying stuff. Um, and I know that a lot of times, and because everybody has a preference, and everybody should have a preference because we're all different.
Yeah,
Some people like gifts. Some people want to be pampered. Some people want um, the little, not, I'm not going to say corny. Some people might want a card once a week.
right,
Some people might want extra attention. Well, we got cars, but I want you to pick me up for work. I
right,
want you to send me roses to my job. You ain't got
right,
to have them at the house waiting for me. Send them to the job. I want people to know that I have somebody in my life that really cares about me.
right.
So I thought that that was interesting, that he was more of like the actions. He seems like more of the everyday, like this is what he do. He probably is not as verbal saying I love you.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's what we I think can try to understand with our partners. So two things on that, right? So the first thing is that a lot of times men think that they are doing a good job, and sometimes women think that they're not doing enough, and sometimes vice versa. I think we have to get beyond the point where we're expecting that people know how to love us or how we like to be shown love. You've heard me talk a lot about the five love languages, and there's different ways to kind of show affection or emotion to people. But I think we have to get beyond expecting that someone will know that. And then the other thing is, sometimes women have this mindset, oh, I want to be surprised and you should know how to do this. But the man that you're with has not been with you before. He's been with different women, probably, that have different expectations, different needs. He's probably been with women that didn't even have
What
any expectations.
what did you just say?
What?
What was the last statement you said?
I said he's probably been with different
No,
women
no,
that
you said the man that you with.
the
What?
man that you're with probably has been with other women who had different expectations than you, or may not have had any expectations at all. And so, soundboard.
Yes.
And so, it's important to not have this expectation that when we start a relationship, or even when we're in relationship, that our partner knows everything that we need. We need to get beyond leaving that responsibility in their hand and just having that conversation about what we like. And it doesn't have to be a hard conversation. um, One of the things that I am practicing is rewards. So if I'm just practicing it in general. But if something does something that I like, I say, I really like when you did such and such. It made me feel a certain way. So that you're recognizing what the person is doing, making them feel good about it. And once they feel good about making you feel good, then they'll want to continue to do that.
Yeah, you had said that the person that you are with was not with you before.
Not with you
I think
before.
I think that's a profound statement because sometimes we come with the package. We want the person already in our mind. This is her, this is him, this is what I want, the ideal person. Now we're trying to make this person be somebody who we dreamed of instead of realizing that this individual has their own individuality. And now we want them to express love the way we want the love to be expressed to us.
It's so dangerous, Quentin. I call it copy and paste. I call it copy and paste. So, yes, I agree. Helena said the small things like a tender touch, a loving glance in a crowded room, when your eyes meet. Absolutely, that contact is important. But I think that I call it copy and paste, right? Where there are a few things happening. We have the failures from past relationships. We don't want to make those mistakes again. So we go into a new relationship feeling like we're not going to do that again. But you don't know what behaviors that person might have. And you might encounter those things again. Doesn't mean it's a failure. How do you resolve them? The other thing is we get all of these we get programmed daily from social media, commercials, everything about what relationships are supposed to be.
Julia, you in your bag tonight.
I am in my bag.
You in your bag tonight. We get what from TV?
We
And
get
social media?
programmed. We get programmed. We get programmed.
On
I'm
what love is supposed on
other,
someone else's interpretation of what love's supposed to be.
and they're behind the screen. You don't even know if they're experiencing love in their life, but they're telling you how you should conduct it. And there are a lot of wounded people who haven't really healed, who are trying to give other people advice. And the danger in that is that you present yourself in a relationship with all of this program that you've received about what a relationship is supposed to be like. And the moment you don't get the thing that you want, it's a problem. But you don't take the time to work on it. You have to
Yeah.
work on it.
So you said you had something you wanted to read from the book. I do as well. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna do some reading
Okay.
here.
This was the one that really touched me tonight. This is from Hermes. So the question is, how do you show love? He said, you show love through your actions and through your interactions, through your words, through your nonverbal communication, by listening, knowing when to talk, when not to talk, knowing how to talk, by being supportive and being endearing, by initiating, by being consistent, being fun, being strong, being real, not being superficial, not being punitive, and not being a yes man.
He said not being. He said not being punitive.
Not being punitive.
I think that happens a lot. Unfortunately, in relationships, is that either you're gonna be the person that's gonna be super forgiving, where certain things aren't going to bother you, and then that can lead to unhealthiness, or you could be the person that's so punitive where it becomes nagging to the person that everything that they do, you you're bothered by it. And I think that as we get older, as we get mature in understanding relationships better, is to have that balance. And that's what I got from him, is to have that balance, have that understanding, have that, you know, be a good listener. And that's one of the things I thought that was interesting about him.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up about tonight. the challenge of being greater than yourself. Absolutely. It is about that. It is about that. One of the things I wanted to bring up tonight is like conflict resolution in relationships. Um, Usually when there's a disagreement or a problem, we feel before we react. And so if we're coming from a place where we feel like the majority of our needs have not been met up until that point, when that issue happens, it's not just about that issue, but everything else that happened before then. And so there's really not a space to have like a loving conversation about what the challenges are, what's causing the conflict, how can we resolve it, etc. People, when they're in conflict, will have one or two responses. I know you probably heard this before. It's flight or fright or fight. So people will either run away from the discussion, like, yeah, I forgive you, it's no big deal, or they'll fight. They'll get aggressive, they'll get loud, they'll bring up everything that happened before, and it doesn't create a good space for resolving the issue. And my feeling is that an argument is never done until it's done.
Helena said we use crazy clue. What's that, Helena?
What
I
does
need you
that
to
mean?
explain. She didn't
Yeah.
say glue. She said crazy clue. What's that? What's that, Helena? You gonna participate in this show tonight? Because I need to know what that is.
Right.
But I do got a portion I want you to give me some background on.
Okay.
This is my guy right here.
Okay.
Um. Excuse me. Yeah. In the portion that I don't even have to reread it because this is the same thing. See, our notes are on the same page. She
Yeah.
said crazy glue. What you use crazy glue for, Helena? Oh, 33 years of marriage. What y'all use crazy glue to shut each other up? But he said something interesting,
What'd he say?
and I heard you say it. He said not being a yes man. The end of his statement.
Yes.
How do see? But I believe. Don't get me wrong. I believe that a lot of women. This is just my personal belief. A lot of women don't like yes men because then they how some women then y'all be like, oh, you a punk. You know what I mean? But it's like a and I know Helena being married 33 years, she could speak on and even the gentleman in the beginning of the book said it. That's that Gina Martin type love. That
Yes.
that you so crazy. And that's one of the things which is interesting about the show Martin is that it wasn't only just comedy, it was about friendships, relationships,
Yes.
and they sometimes like we always say and even you said it earlier about programming is that a lot of us got that image from Martin and Gina of this seemed like a cool relationship. Like they funny. He always crack on her head. She always talk about how stupid he is
Right.
and do all the dumb stuff. But at the end of the day, that's her man.
That's her
Same
man.
thing.
That's his woman.
Same thing for the people of age that with the honeymooners. Y'all know Ralph was a piece of work. Bang zoom to the moon, and he always had a plan.
Yes, and
But
Nora,
at the end of the show, he always said, "Baby, you're the greatest."
and she always had a plate of food in front of him.
Yeah.
No matter what
Yeah.
he put through in that episode.
And it's funny because every time I think about the honeymooners, and I don't want to take away from the show in the chat, you guys, but I swear that episode when Ralph had a plan and he wanted to build a garage by the garage next to the movie theater. Oh, that's the funniest episode. He had the plan of the century, but little did Ralph know the movie theater was a drive-in. Yo.
Details.
Ralph wanted to borrow money from the job and everything, yo. He said, I want to get a garage next to the movie theater. He said, no, we going to get a garage next to the movie theater. And Ralph forgot to pay attention to details, yo. And it was a drive-in movie theater, yo.
But
Oh,
that comes with time. I remember my grandmother and my grandfather, they used to have knock down, drag out, vicious arguments, and they only lasted for 5 minutes.
Yes,
And
it's like you said, it's a love language, yo.
it comes with
Because
time. You
I'm
have to
telling
give
you,
it time.
my grandfather was the same way, and he used to purposely do it. Like he would be in the kitchen, my grandmother would be in the living room, and I'd go in and I'd mess with him, and I'm like, "Pop, what's up?" He'd be like, "Nothing," because he liked to cook, and he'd give me a look and a smirk because he had this smirk on his face, and all of a sudden he'd say something to my grandmother just to get her riled up. And as soon as she start, he just start laughing, or he won't say nothing. I think that was his way of saying I could still get her mad.
Still get her mad.
She still love me. Very
Yep.
very very interesting thing, and that's what as Helena said with the crazy glue. That's the nuances when you've been with somebody for so long. You show your love in different ways.
But you have to give it time. I think today, I mean, by no means would I ever recommend for anyone who is not in a healthy relationship to stay in that relationship. However, if you are mentally attracted to someone, physically attracted to someone, you kind of share the same motivation in terms of achieving your goals. Um, you share some similar passions and interests, and you kind of maybe share faith, and you can see yourself together living a beautiful life together. You can't just give up when things get difficult. Like, you got to be willing to put the work in to make it last, and how you show love is critically important during those difficult times.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I think that's one of the things that our generation didn't take from the generation before us. Um, we may have seen the single mothers, the single fathers, but this was not norm in our communities.
Right.
This was something that had circumstances behind it. And I think that it has put us in a situation where we're very quick to give up. We
Yes.
like it's a weird thing because we will do everything that a married couple or a couple that's been together forever will do, but we don't work on the relationship.
Got to work on a relationship. It's not, and it's particularly hard when you talk about, like, what were the examples? What were the examples? And I think a lot of the gentlemen in the book kind of talk about this, coming from like single parent homes, or just the environments that they were raised in, and their understanding of love and how to show love, and how to be a man in a relationship. I mean,
And
the
that and that
gentleman
and that segues to my guy.
who
My guy. For this question, he's my guy.
who is it?
Nikki D.
Nikki D. This was the jackpot answer.
He said, I show love through my intention. I
Yeah,
focus my attention on it. For instance, I'm seeing someone now and we live far apart from each other, so we can't shower affection on each other. But we take time to show each other that we care about each other. We celebrate birthdays, holidays, and traditions. Even though we're not close to each other, we acknowledge those things. I know that as I'm getting older, my capacity to love and to accept love has gotten a lot greater because I'm less selfish than I was when I was younger. My heart is warmer. I had a cold heart when I was younger. It took me a while to sort of thaw out and warm up. And because of who I am and where I grew up and what I was exposed to, it took me a long time to express love.
yes.
Woo!
Okay,
He dropped some bombs there.
okay. All the bombs. He dropped all of the bombs.
He went in.
What do you
He went hammer.
what did you get from all of that, Quentin?
Was crazy, right? And I always try to refer to movies because I'm a big movie guy. I love TV. right? And in Waiting to Exhale, Wesley Snipes played the role.
Yes, he did.
And when he wrote her the letter
Mm,
to explain that he fell in love with her that night,
one night,
but never touched her,
not at all.
and he explained and talked about the emotion of her falling in love with her. It took me back. I always think about that movie because Waiting to Exhale was one of the, I believe that
Yes.
from the book to screenplay, it really was good, good transformation. So I was thinking about that when I read that. I said, "Wow, he's an older guy. A lot of younger people or younger men probably can't deal with a relationship like that, but they're not around each other, and you could clearly see through the paper in the book that he's in love with her. He
He's in
understands.
love.
He's understand where he's at in life. He's a full man. As we say, he's a man's man. So I really commend him, and that's why I highlighted that part of the book because he was able to get that off.
I think it's beautiful that you raised that point. They
We have
share.
we have late breaking news. Late breaking news.
Yes.
We have someone here that remembers something about Waiting to Exhale.
Clothes burning. The clothes burning. I think men don't recognize or realize all the time how crazy y'all drive us. We will have a yard sale and burn all of
Oh,
your clothes.
oh man.
Yeah.
Woo.
It, it was an excellent movie, and what I really appreciated about Waiting to Exhale, and if anyone who's watching hasn't seen it, I would recommend that they watch it. It takes you through different types of relationships. I mean, it's really about the sistership, the sisterhood between the women, but the different relationships that they have in their life. And I think that at any point in time, you might find people in those different situations, but I think that the way that they characterize the men in the movie was just so beautiful. Um, Particularly Wesley Snipes and also Gregory
Yeah,
Hines.
Gregory Hines. Rest in peace to the tap dance legend, man.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
it's funny that we taking a a good writer who's on her way up and talking about another writer, Terry McMillan, right?
Terry McMillan.
And what's amazing about her is people thought that she was men bashing
Yes.
in that movie, and I personally didn't see it. I'm totally against the battle of the sexes. I believe that what happened is we focused on all the wrong roles.
Thank you for
Wesley Snipes was the man in that movie.
he was the
Gregory
man.
Hines was the man.
The man.
Gregory Hines told her straight up, "Let your son be a man. Stop babying him."
And
And
she needed
a
that.
lot of times, for lack of better words, we don't want to let go, and I understand it. I was my mother's baby, so we may not want to let go. And then the Wesley role was like,
And that comes down to our question tonight, right? Like, how do you show love? So we had the examples of the other male characters in the movie who were not necessarily looking for that connection or that relationship, but they were looking for something different. And you could see they were kind of self-serving in a way and didn't have respect for the women that they were interacting with.
mhm,
And you could kind of see the challenges that presents. But then on the other hand, you could see through like Wesley's role and Gregory's role that when a man truly cares for you and respects you, he will make sure that he attends to your emotional needs. That's what those gentlemen did.
can't be like my boy Michael T. Williams, right?
I can't stand all state commercials now.
Oh, no, that's Hansberry.
That's
Yeah,
Hansberry.
that's
Yeah, but I still
Hansberry.
can't stand those.
No,
Yeah, and I never looked at him the same
so
either.
so when you hear that deep voice and you get mad, like what do you used to call it, Roberta? He was a smooth operator, yo. I
All I
call
think about is Savannah.
that deep voice kicker. He just show up, pop up. you know what type of situation I'm in. I mean the casting for that movie when you sit back and look at it now and how their careers have taken off, and rest in peace to
Whitney
Gregory
Houston.
Hines and Whitney Houston. It's kind of like she gave us, and like I talk about your book, she gave us a template of, and it was so real
Real.
because we go through this type of stuff. These relationships are sometimes sometimes you can look at a movie and be like, that don't really happen. That ain't our culture. No,
That
that
one.
was yeah, that was it. That was
That was
it.
it.
I just think about how angry Michael T. Williams got at the end. He was cussing her out from outside. He was toe up. He
With the
was toe up.
grapefruit.
Yeah. The only thing that saved my boy's career was him being Bubba Shrimp after that.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Oh,
They had my boy mean as hell in that. I'm like, damn,
it was
good.
bad. But those, those are the situations that people can find themselves in when they are not healed, when they are searching for something other than like organic connection, true connection, when they when people are not like clear on who they are and what they want, you can end up in some really compromising situations. And so it's important that when people are coming together, that they're clear on what they want to do.
So
If
I know that you know your gears had got really grinded up today
yes,
about this rapper, and she talking about how she wants somebody to love her. You care to
Sweetie,
talk about that? What's her name?
Sweetie,
Sweet.
S-A, Weedy, Sweetie,
Her name is Saweetie.
Sweetie, guys.
Whew.
I, my position is I want us to be respectful of one another, caring towards one another, organic in our relationships, etc. One of the things that she said, the video, it's all over Instagram, is that if your man talking to women, if your man is not buying you Birkin bags, like basically throw the whole man away. And to me, there are younger women and maybe some mature women who are hearing these things and thinking that that's a show of love. And it's not a show of love, right? It's not. It's borderline, usury. It's borderline like prostitution. Like, you don't need to give me a bag for me to be with you,
Yeah,
right?
because I'm glad I don't know who she is.
Hmm.
Um, it, do you think that people realize that they're influencers? Like she's a rapper, she has a a
A
social
following.
media following. Do you think that she understands the magnitude of what she said, or
Yes,
don't
she did.
care, or just trying to go viral?
I think in the moment that she said it, that she was serious about that, and she meant that. She meant that. And I think she received a lot of criticism for saying that, and then she came back and tried to clarify what she really meant. But the problem is that, and the gentleman in the book talk about, materialism. Materialism is not necessarily a show of love. You can buy me a Birkin bag, but then bonk me on top of my head with it when you get ready. If that's the reason why I'm there, if the only reason why I'm there is for what you can provide to me materialistically, then that's a compromising situation. There has to be more to a relationship than what you can provide to me materialistically. And that's not to say that, you know, we shouldn't both be in some kind of economic stability and able to provide things for each other. But this idea that if the man is not able to do these things financially, that they have no value, that the man has no value is a problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a multitude of things when you when you put that out there, and like Mom said, artists are responsible for that art.
Yes.
I never looked at the content of what they're singing or rapping or writing as so much responsible or irresponsible. But after that comes it. Like if you have a rapper now that has, like, most of them have big Instagram followings, now they've taken their stardom from rapping to having a following and using their voice, using their platform to talk about other issues. Now, this is where sometimes it can become problemsome. Um, so I think that a lot of times with a lot of our younger, immature people who make these statements, I think that they don't really understand who they are from a historical standpoint.
No
I
clue.
mean, I mean, I know that we always refer back to, like, what when we talk about relationships, where we went wrong, because we sometimes think that it was slavery, but it actually wasn't during the slavery that it was problems. A lot of times with people that having those crazy expectations, like, how you gonna say a man is not worthy because he can't buy you a bag? He's loving you, he's protecting you, he's providing for you with the means that he has. He's doing everything that these great gentlemen in this book is talking about. But
Yes.
because he can't buy you a bag, just throw the whole man away.
Just throw the whole man away. I think it's utterly ridiculous. But there, you would be surprised, Quentin, about how many people receive their instruction on how to do relationships from these influencers.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, and that's the funny thing, Julius, is that it works both ways, but it's who you choose to follow.
it's who you choose to
It's
follow.
kind of crazy because, like, I always speak about Denzel and his wife and his son John David, who I'm a big fan of, and he always talks every time he interviewed, the first thing they always say, your father, your father, your father. And then he always speaks about his father, and then he said, but my mother taught me how to love.
Out of love.
And I always think that's just so profound that you could talk about my dad, but my mom taught me how to love. And I think that in our society today is that some of our younger people, they don't choose to follow a Denzel type of path of the way that they show affection towards each other when they're not together. Because Denzel speaks highly of his wife when they're not together, and vice versa. And their son, their product speaks highly of his parents. They'd rather have that knocked down, drawn out type of
There's
craziness.
there's no value, I think, today, or the value has been lessened in being yourself and following your own path, right? To be individual and not part of, what's trending can be dramatic or a traumatic, right? Because how do you allow yourself to be included into society, your peer, your age group and stuff like that? How do you allow yourself to be included if you're not following everything that everybody else is doing?
It's like
And
it's like it's like if you ask people what type of love they want that social media type of love.
social media.
like the poem you said that day. You want to what type of love? Some people want social media type of love, instant gratification, no work, no nothing, no substance. What people think on the outside is love, and everything else is just hollow.
And that's not what it is. Showing love is sometimes sitting down for 3 hours and just having a conversation with your partner. Love is sometimes, it's not a Birkin bag. Sometimes it's a walk in the park. Love is not, red bottoms and, these exquisite parties. Sometimes it's, a homemade cake, and some candles. That's, love is real. It's
It ain't
not those
it ain't
things.
it ain't it ain't burning my clothes.
It's not burning your clothes. I mean, if you get the lesson from me burning your clothes, then yes, that's love too.
I think some people may be like, she had every right to burn his stuff, right? He
I
just
believe
like,
so.
yeah, he ain't feel that way when he was in that courtroom.
I
That,
believe so.
that courtroom definitely showed him something.
Come on now, you gonna leave me on New Year's Eve for the secretary? And I helped you build a business? She said
Mm,
11 years. Yeah, everything gotta go.
mm. I tell you, I tell you. But Jules, is there anything else you want to address?
No, I just want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat tonight. This was a great question. I really loved it. The answers were amazing. If you don't have the book already, it's available on Amazon. You can search under my name, Julia Dozier, or Crown Rules 2, and it will come up for you. Um,
You got a bunch of statements that just popped up on the screen.
oh, we do?
Yeah.
What's everybody saying?
This about the burning clothes right here. That's love turned inside out.
Rage. Uh-huh.
This right here is who he left her for, and waiting to exhale. And then Nicole hit us with the statement about the celebrities.
That's true. That's
And
true.
she's exactly right.
Exactly right. Exactly right. You know, love is real.
So 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 next week's episode is, what kind of love do you need or
Or
desire?
desire. So the question that we covered this week is how the gentlemen show love. And I think asking them the question of what they need
Or
kind of
desire.
or desire kind of
And,
lets us know what they're looking for.
and I must say, I'm ready to dive into the book right now and look at these answers, because I can only imagine.
It's good. It's
But
good.
but I can imagine that question to some of these ladies. What kind of love do you need or you desire?
I would love to hear the responses. I can't wait until next week.
Yeah, next week, have them those in the chat that try to make this a weekly thing. We appreciate you. Your support to the show means a lot to us, and it helps us continue to go along. Because behind the scenes, I'm a little tired, so I had to make Julia laugh because of my little soundboard I got. So I had to break her to cheer her up, because you never know what type of audience we're gonna have, and you guys um being part of the show with us, it really means a lot to us. So have them answers ready. What kind of love do you need and desire? And
Hmm.
I'm quite sure from the ages of 8 to 80, we might get some interesting answers.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you, Quentin, for tonight. This was
Yes.
amazing. Thank you,
So
everybody in the chat.
so just in the chat, you guys just know, I know what y'all giving up next week. Chicago Thursday is back. I understand, but make sure you turn into the show.
If
You
you
go,
can.
yeah, if you can, you can watch Chicago Thursday and have your laptop, your tablet, your phone out and tune into the show. We appreciate you guys' support, and with that, have a blessed week, and we'll see y'all next Thursday.
Bye, everybody.